On today's episode, I was inspired to give some healing one-on-one tips. Okay. And these tips are just some things that you need to know if you are seeking to heal after your divorce or even after your breakup. And the reason why I felt the need to have this conversation this week is because healing is more of a conversation now. And we are in a day and age that people are actually, acting on doing their healing work. And for quite a few people, this is really new, right? Let's just keep it 100. This is really new, meaning that maybe nobody in our family has done this before. Maybe those who are in our close circle has never done this before. And when something is new, that also means that it's unfamiliar. And when something is unfamiliar and when something is uncertain, it can cause us to hesitate and not even move forward on the thing that we know we need to do. Because I'm going to be honest with you, one of the things that I think is important to do above all else is your healing work. I really believe that wholeheartedly. This is why I talk about it all the time. And I actually did a podcast episode on what does doing the inner work really mean? Because I actually had someone to ask me that, and I thought it was a really good question. And I did a full episode on it. It's episode number 107, titled, What Does Doing the Inner Work Mean? And I would drop that down in the show notes. And the reason why I believe that this is the most important work you can do for yourself is because when you want clarity for your next chapter, when you want a stronger bond with your children, when you want to be able to navigate co-parenting effectively with your ex, high conflict or not, when you want increased self-esteem, a peace of mind, joy, when you want to be able to embrace and explore new experiences as well as opportunities, when you want to renew your hope and deepen your faith, when you want to improve your mental health and emotional stability, and when you want a deeper understanding of who and whose you are, as well as relationships that are more complementary rather than competitive and or complicated, then all of this will feel less attainable when you're continuously functioning from a space and place of hurt, which is why healing is the actual bridge that transforms you to move from pain to possibility, from obstacles to opportunity, and from confusion to clarity. Because healing helps you see those options, right? Healing helps you seek those solutions for the things that you desire. Healing helps you see beyond what's actually current. And what I wanted to do today is quickly give you a rundown of my top 7 healing one-on-one tips, because it's important to keep these reminders on hand. Because honestly, healing challenges you. It does. And when you are new to this, it challenges you. It challenges you to be vulnerable. It challenges you to be transparent. It challenges you to be authentic, patient, open, committed, as well as courageous. And as you pursue this new chapter, it's important to keep some kind, gentle, and firm reminders on hand, okay? The first healing one-on-one tip that I want to give you is that you must be willing to be uncomfortable. Okay, that's the very first healing one-on-one tip, is that you must be willing to be uncomfortable. As I mentioned, healing challenges you, right? And when you are being challenged, it brings discomfort. Okay. And when discomfort comes, you can easily mistake that discomfort as a sign to stop or a reason to give up. However, this form of discomfort is a disruptor to your normalcy. Okay. And that's very, very important. And what this means is that whatever your normalcy is right now, that's your comfort zone. However, when you choose to heal, that actually disrupts your current comfort, because you're now stepping into what I call uncharted territory. Okay. Where you're challenged to face some hard truths, where you're challenged to feel some unpleasant feelings, where you're challenged to confront some unresolved issues, where you're challenged to do what you don't want to do, but you know that's what you need to do. Okay. You're challenged to set some much needed boundaries. You're challenged to disconnect from old habits and patterns that don't serve you nor your next chapter. And so when you feel uncomfortable, don't take that as a sign to run from your healing. Okay. But instead, let this be a sign for you to lean into that discomfort so that you can evolve. Okay. And so that's the very first healing one-on-one tip, is that you must be willing to be uncomfortable. Okay. The second healing one-on-one tip that I want to give you today is all feelings are to be felt. That's the second tip. All feelings are to be felt. When it comes to feelings, I'm just going to let you know this right now. You are not to ignore them, suppress them, sweep them under the rug, pretend like you're okay to be strong, dismiss them, or even judge yourself for having them. Okay? As a human being, and I want you to hear me when I say this, no one, and I mean no one, is non-emotional. And that's important to understand. And when you don't give yourself the space to validate your feelings, I'm going to tell you what happens. You disregard your needs. Okay. You have trouble unpacking the understanding of why you feel that way. Because here's the thing, we cannot unpack something that we're not willing to acknowledge. And you also have difficulty finding effective ways to manage those feelings. Because if you can identify how you feel, then it will be hard to come up with solutions and strategies to manage the feelings that you actually want to overcome. And let me also add this when it comes to all feelings are to be felt, because I also want to be clear that all feelings are not unpleasant. Okay. And that's really, really important. And this is something that I tell my clients too. And so what do I mean when I say this? This means that we need to give ourselves permission to feel the pleasant ones as well. Okay. And so when you find yourself in moments of smiling, laughing, feeling at peace, being in a calm state, feeling gratitude, experiencing joy, and even being content, then these moments are not to be overlooked or ignored. Okay. These are moments where we want to acknowledge, but also ask ourselves, how can I get more of those moments? How can I experience more of those pleasant moments? Because sometimes we're so accustomed and addicted to pain that it actually makes it challenging to embrace moments of positivity. Okay. And so that's the second healing one-on-one tip that I want to give you, is that all feelings are to be felt. Okay. The third healing one-on-one tip that I want to give you today is that in the beginning, it may not appear like it's working. Okay. That's the third tip. In the beginning, it may not appear like it's working. So I have an Amazon Prime account, and I'm going to be honest with y'all. I love me some Amazon Prime. And one of the biggest benefits about having Amazon Prime is that if I place my order right now, most likely I'll have it by tomorrow, maybe a couple of days. And sometimes I can get it the exact same day. Okay. I like the fast turnaround, right? I want something quick and I want it right now. However, when it comes to your healing, you cannot apply that Amazon Prime technique. Okay. When it comes to instant gratification, we are really at an all-time high now because we can really get a lot of things quickly, right? Let's just keep it real. However, when it comes to healing, healing requires patience. Okay. Healing requires time. And healing also requires the ability to see your healing incrementally. And that's huge, right? So heavy on the word incremental, because when you're able to see your healing as incremental, this helps you see the small victories. You know, every win is a win, and it is important to allow yourself to acknowledge that on this journey. It also helps you see how far you've come. You know, many of us are so caught up in the arrival that we're not focusing on who we're becoming. And so seeing how far you've come helps you appreciate the journey more. And it also helps you to keep going, right? It helps you remain the course. Because if you expect your healing to be exponential, then you may become disappointed in the incremental. And what that does is that you minimize the progress that you made along the way. And so what's important to understand is that your healing is a compounded effect, meaning that those micro and consistent actions that you're taking on your healing will lead to macro change. Okay. And so that's the third healing one-on-one tip that I want to give you, is that in the beginning, it may not appear to be working. Before we continue, I have just one important question to ask. And that question is, are you ready to start releasing the story of your divorce or even your breakup so that you can live a life by design rather than by default? And why do I ask this question? Because what I've seen in my experience over and over again is that many dissolve, but few detach, meaning that they may no longer be in the relationship anymore physically. However, they may still be attached to the story mentally and emotionally. And guess what happens You bring that attached hurt with you only to disrupt as well as distract you from thriving in your next chapter. And let me tell you something. We're already in the second half of 2024, and you don't have time to remain in a previous chapter of your life that was only designated for a season. Now, if this is you, then here's what I propose, okay? I propose that you join me for my 7-day Beyond the Breakup workshop that starts August the 19th through August the 25th, where you will be working alongside with me for 7 days. And I will be giving you my strategic blueprint on what you must do to turn the page of this chapter so that you can start a new story and thrive after your divorce or breakup. And here's the thing, the workshop is free. And this is actually going to be my last and final time that I'm hosting this workshop for 2024. So if you know that this is your time, head over to TanyaCarter.com/Beyond the Breakup to sign up and register, okay? That's TanyaCarter.com/Beyond the Breakup. And I will put the link down in the show notes, okay? The fourth tip that I want to give you is that there's going to be a lot of unlearning and relearning. Okay, that's the fourth tip. The fourth tip is there's going to be a lot of unlearning and relearning. One of my 4 pillars in my accelerated program is relearning. It is. And the reason being is because we have deeply ingrained narratives about ourselves, about our lives, about others, as well as the world that we hold that's never been challenged. And what happens is this unconsciously creates limiting beliefs, limiting self-awareness, limiting perspectives, limiting wisdom, as well as limited growth. And when it comes to healing, you step into a place of consciousness that causes you to now challenge those narratives. You know, many of us have been told how to think, what to believe, what to do, who to be, how to feel, how to look, what's important, how to measure your worth, what success looks like. You need to be married, only to just do it and never take the time to ask ourselves, why? Why am I really doing this? Is this really true? And whose truth is this? Is this something that my healed self would do? How does this align with my values? What are the underlying motivations that's driving my actions? Is this genuinely what I want for myself? And so what you may have held as absolute truth may now be considered relative, because what you may have been taught and told could have been influenced by cultural norms, personal biases, or even societal expectations. And so you may find that although this may be true for someone else, this isn't a truth that supports my values, my goals, as well as my quality of life. And so what that does for you is that it gives you the permission to adopt an elevated narrative that aligns with you. Okay. And so that's the fourth tip that I want to give you. The fourth tip I want to give you is that there's going to be a lot of unlearning as well as relearning. Okay. And so the fifth tip I want to give you is to prepare to be misunderstood. Okay. That's the fifth tip. The fifth tip is to prepare to be misunderstood. When it comes to healing, you can't heal and expect to be the exact same. Well, healing elevates you. It elevates you spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, relationally, and even professionally. And so the person that you knew yourself as, to even the person others knew you as prior to your healing, will change. Because as you adopt new information, as you learn how to feel, as you begin challenging those deeply ingrained beliefs and narratives, as you begin to honor your values, when you start releasing yourself from your past, when you start to keep your promises to yourself, and when you learn who and whose you are, the byproduct of that is growth and transformation. And so you may find that what you once did, you don't have the desire to do no more. What you once believed and held as truth is more relative than absolute. The conversations that you used to entertain are no longer conversations you want to have. Some of the relationships you have may shift and need to be redefined because they're no longer in alignment. What was once important is now less significant because as you heal, there are new priorities that takes precedence. And so attempting to still be the same will actually be a disservice to your healing. And the reason why keeping that reminder that you're going to be misunderstood is because the need to be liked can cause a person to not do the thing that they know they need to do. You know, I'm going to be honest. and I don't have no data on this. This is just what I really do believe. I'm really convinced that although a person may not know all the steps on what to do, I do believe that many are aware that a change needs to happen. However, due to the need of being liked, they won't make that step. And when it comes to your healing, it takes courage to do this because you have to be willing to be misunderstood. Okay. And so that's the fifth tip that I want to give you. The fifth tip is prepare to be misunderstood. Okay. And so the sixth tip that I want to give you today is that your healing may require separation. All right. That's the sixth tip. The sixth tip is your healing may require separation. When you choose to embark on a new chapter, everyone may not be able to go. Okay. And sometimes when we desire change, we hold back because others won't join. And what that does is that postpones your healing, only to remain loyal to a previous version of yourself that you desire to outgrow. And because healing in the beginning is this uncharted territory, you may find yourself being hesitant on traveling the journey alone. And when it comes to your healing, it's important to know that it is very sacred. Okay. I tell my clients this: healing is sacred and it's also very personal to you. And so it wouldn't be wise to let others not joining be the reason why you don't start the journey. Because in all honesty, this actually may be what you need to do to heal. And that's to separate yourself from your normalcy. And that may look like separating yourself from environments and even relationships that causes you to remain connected to old outdated patterns, as well as habits that doesn't serve you in your next season. And so, yes, there may be a period of time that you are required to be alone. Now, let me be clear. Being alone doesn't mean you have zero support. This just means that you are now prioritizing your own healing while remaining open to receiving support in new and meaningful ways. Okay? And so that's the sixth tip that I want to give you. The sixth tip is that your healing may require separation. All right? And so my last and final one-on-one tip that I want to give you today is that your healing is bigger than your divorce or your breakup. Okay? That's the last tip, is that your healing is bigger than your divorce or your breakup. One of the things that I've heard from clients who have been in my accelerated program, or even if I work with them one-on-one, and I've been doing this for about 7 years, but this is something that I hear quite often. And that is, this program is much deeper than my relationship. And that's because it's actually designed for it to be. You know, divorces and breakups are painful, right? I'm not here to discredit it. I'm not here to dismiss it because I know it is. However, its purpose is deeper than the current pain. And it's really important to seek what that purpose is. You know, what becomes problematic is when you take the experience of your divorce or even your breakup and you make that be this sole indicator of your value and worth as a person. And it's important to make a clear distinction that this is not who I am, but rather what I've experienced. Nowadays, so many opinions and voices are out here. And some of these voices that we are allowing to penetrate in our heads and in our hearts are actually keeping us more stuck and stagnant to our own healing. Because when you remain in this space of shame or failure or guilt or hurt or even embarrassment, it postpones the purpose of what this pain can produce. Okay? And I say all of that to say that there's purpose in your pain. Okay? When my clients start working with me, I'm sure that in the beginning, they think that this is really about their relationship, when in reality, it's about the relationship that they have with themselves. It's about them studying themselves. It's about them getting to know themselves. It's about them understanding what happened in their lives before they even got romantically involved. It's about them processing things that they've never taken the time to process. You know, the beauty in the breakup is actually allowing yourself to face yourself. I know it doesn't sound motivational, but this is where the transformation lies. Because truthfully, it's really easy to hide in another relationship to avoid yourself. Many people relationship bounce and they find the same things happen. They find themselves attracting, or I would say entertaining, the same type of individual. And what happens is when you actually start to do this work, when you start taking your work seriously, you realize how much you've been carrying emotionally. You realize the limited beliefs you've been attempting to thrive from. You realize the resiliency you actually have to overcome challenges. You realize the possibility you have to author your own story going forward. You realize that healing is more of a continuous journey rather than a destination. And you also realize how amazing and enough that you really are. And when you start to see your experience of going through a divorce or even a breakup from this perspective, then you actually understand that this current pain is actually going to serve as a catalyst for you to live a more intentional and fulfilling life. Okay. And so those are my top 7 tips. I had to narrow these things down because I actually have a lot more because there's so many different tips, but I wanted to narrow it down to my top 7 just based on the advice that I give to my clients throughout our time working together. I find that these are like the top 7 that I repeatedly say. And when you are just starting this journey, and this is new for you, I encourage you to put this on replay. I really do, especially when you're just starting, because again, when something's new, when something's unfamiliar, it brings uncertainty because there are going to be moments where you may want to give up. It may be moments where it just doesn't feel like it's working, but we don't want to give up. We don't want to give in. We don't want to say it's not working. We want to remind ourselves, okay, what am I going back to if I don't? What is going to be the loss when I do? You got to think like that sometimes. And so we need these gentle but firm reminders that, you know what, it is working, but I got to give myself time. Okay. And so please make sure that you are following me on my social media handles. My Instagram is I am Tanya Carter. My Facebook is Tanya Carter. YouTube is Tanya Carter. I'm all things Tanya Carter. Okay. And I will put the link down in the show notes. Okay. And if you are watching this on YouTube, comment on it. Let me know, what are your thoughts? Let me know what tips stuck out to you or what tips that you are implementing. Okay. So you can head over to my YouTube and check it out as well. And also please make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast so that you can receive notifications on when the podcast will drop. And also leave a review. If you know that this podcast has been very beneficial for you, then please head over to Spotify and or iTunes and leave me a review. And last but not least, share this information. If you know that these tips could help someone, then share the link to them so this can be a blessing for them. Okay. So thank you all again for tuning in with me this week. You all have a wonderful and an amazing week, and I will see you next time.